The city of San Francisco has now suffered from another major store closing in downtown. We had Whole Foods, we had Nordstrom, now we've got T-Mobile shutting down, and we're told, oh, everything's fine. This is a utopia. San Francisco's perfect. And of course, it's not. Meanwhile, over in New York, we've got citizens having to keep order on the subways because it's chaos in that major city. Does it feel like things are deteriorating and we're sort of reaching the end of the big city experiment in this country? Well, you're not the only one. Let's bring in somebody who always looks at these things with a longer historical perspective. He's Victor Davis Hanson, senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. It really does feel like things are falling apart in these liberal utopias like San Francisco and New York, Doctor.
It does. It was kind of a perfect storm. I mean, for years we were told that they needed a particular type of hard left progressive city council, mayor, prosecuting attorney, police chief, and they all got what they wanted. And then the Zoom sort of reminded people that you didn't have to go downtown as frequently as you wanted. The therapeutic idea that homeless people, were victims of society and they had a right to live on the street, all of that put together really destroyed these downtowns. I think it's 30% vacancy rate now in San Francisco. I was just there, and these beautiful buildings that were built in the heyday of the
Yeah.
late 90s and 2010, they're empty. It's just incredible. And yet, the fun thing is that we have the answers. We know what to do about homeless people. We know what to do about crime. We know what to do about these budgets, but we can't seem to do it.
Your dogs are fabulous, by the way.
Yes.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having them be a part of the
Yeah.
show. They sound
Okay.
great. I engaged in a debate with somebody in California about the homeless crisis there. Last stat showed that over 50% of the homeless in America live in California. And obviously, it's because that
Yes.
state is a magnet. It's drawing people there because of all the benefits and the tolerance to allow people to live on the streets. But I'm not kidding. They're still blaming Ronald Reagan. They're still blaming Ronald Reagan for homelessness in this country.
They are. Well, they still blame slavery. I mean, we just voted for 800, the city voted for $800 billion in reparations from people who
Yeah.
may or may not have had ancestors 8 generations ago as slaves, and they want people who may or may not have had ancestors 8 generations ago who may have owned slaves in a state that was free.
Can I ask you about an article you've recently written? It's actually quite fascinating because you parallel the French Revolution and the ubiquitous use of the guillotine against the latest enemy of the state, and you compare that to where the left is right now in finding the new villain and the new demon that has to be destroyed. Lay that out for us because I think it's quite telling.
In the French Revolution, it started out like the American Revolution. They wanted freedom and liberty, and they wanted a constitutional system in place of a monarchy. And then, unlike us, they went the next level, the next level, the next level of full mandated equality and fraternity enforced by this revolutionary government. But each iteration got more radical. So yesterday's revolutionary was today's sellout, was tomorrow's guillotine.
Right.
And it was very similar to what we're doing. They changed the foundational date, not to 1619, but to 1789. They changed the days of the week, they toppled statues, they changed names, and everybody who started out with the revolution ended up executed. Danton, Herbert, all of them. But it's kind of funny that the left created this wokeness, and now you see people who were part of the left, liberals of very across the spectrum, a Richard Dreyfuss, a Elon Musk, a Naomi Wolf, a Bill Maher. I could go on, and
J.K.
they're shocked.
Rowling. Yeah.
They were all in. They're shocked that the logical trajectory of their own ideology ended up with AOC and the Squad and Bernie Sanders, and even they are not. They're not at the end. We're going into the BLM Antifa normalization of the left, and ultimately it means the destruction of merit and that the lights won't go on, or you won't be able to walk down Market Street in San Francisco, or you walk down San Francisco and you see a sign in the car that says "Nothing here" or
Right.
"Car unlocked." I've seen that now a lot of times, and so that's sort of medieval. That the civilization doesn't work anymore.
Well, and the New York Times is now opining that if you believe that you deserve safety in your home or on city streets or in the subway, it's really another demonstration of your white privilege. That the idea that you deserve to have safety and security is actually part of the problem, and you're displaying your own inherent racism. But Dr. Hanson, isn't there a place for common ground here? I mean, I see this as an opportunity to build allegiances with the new villains of the left who used to be part of the left just a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, I think so. I think we all have people, friends in our family that are on the left, and we can't believe what they're saying now and what they're saying. And we don't know what the catalysts are for this radical change. For some, where I work, it's very liberal people whose children played by all the rules, and they had straight A's and they had perfect SAT scores, and they apply to Stanford or Harvard or Yale, and they call you up and say, my child didn't get in. The SAT is optional. He was punished because he's a white male. How did this happen? Or their child calls them up and says, my child was in a class and it was taken over. Or another person just called me from Santa Cruz and said, the teacher suggested that my daughter consider transitioning. Another person said, my daughter had an award from John Philip Sousa, award for the little band in the 8th grade, and the teacher said, take that off, he was racist. So
Yeah.
I think they feel that their lives as they thought could go on with this progressive uh, evolution can't anymore, because it's not progressive, it's regressive, it's nihilist, it's destructive, and by
So
intent.
I wonder where that alliance is formed and how it happened. Because I still feel like some of those people, like your Bill Maher's of the world or your Tulsi Gabbard or something, they know they're not part of that radical left. But I don't think they can come all the way over and say, okay, now I'm going to join with Republicans. Is this actually
No, no, they
possibly
can't.
a third party
I
possibility
don't know
or
if it's
some sort of third way that could form
the
now out of the rubble?
the ones that I talk to. Uh, I would say this is where they are politically. They will not vote for Donald Trump for a variety of reasons, most of them emotional, but they just won't do it. But if someone like DeSantis or Scott or somebody like that was nominated, they wouldn't tell their friends, but they most definitely would vote for them. And they're
Hmm.
very quiet about it, but they feel that they are targeted themselves in so many different ways, and they're scared. And sometimes, they don't want to go to San Francisco in the Bay Area. These are Silicon Valley people. Or I had a Silicon Valley executive tell me not long ago that they have to informally, off the radar, give tests to graduates from Stanford University and things like coding, because that degree, which was the sterling degree
Yeah.
worldwide, does not guarantee anymore the last couple of years that that person can read, write, think, analyze anymore. And I think that's true of the Ivy League, that when they dropped the SAT and they pretty much made a racially quota, ethnic quota system, that was fine. But what they had to do was water down the curriculum, inflate the grades, and make graduation synonymous with admission. So if you were admitted, they guaranteed you graduate. And the employers now are looking at the first graduating classes. And the subtext of the law school scandal at Stanford was that they were famous as the second-rated law school for 98% passed the California bar uh, on the first try, and now that's dropped down to 84 in 1 year. 16% flunked it, and they can't
So
believe what happened. Well, anybody would know because they changed the admissions policy.
they've willingly and deliberately devalued their own product, which is
They
the
did,
degrees that they charge people an
but it's not
astronomical amount of money
unusual.
for, and they're proud of it.
Look
They
what
brag about it.
Well, look at the military. Look at the military did. They're having these recruitment ads by transgender people, and then Mark Milley and Lloyd Allison basically said they were going to root out white rage, white supremacy
Right.
in the ranks, and they brought no data to show that. And now they're short an entire division, 16,000 people. So what they did was they went out and, without any evidence, accused a white male conservative of being prone to white racism. But that group, if you look at the statistics, died at double their numbers in Iraq and Afghanistan. 75% of all casualties were white males in those two conflicts.
Yeah.
And most of those, we know from the recruitment stats, come from rural areas or conservative areas. So they
And now
basically destroyed
they're
they destroyed
deliberately
their own
saying you're
product.
not welcome here. We don't want you here.
And now they're
It's a
panicked. They don't
disaster,
know.
and it's a recipe for the end of our society. Thankfully, though, we have people like Victor Davis Hanson to at least warn about it. Now, if only people would listen. There's more to come on O'Connor tonight.